Hello and welcome to episode 90 of Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry, and here at Learn, Do, Become, we help people who are drowning in the details of their personal and professional lives to create simple systems so we can all do what matters most. Now, today is lesson number 7 of our step-by-step home organizing party, and we are talking about how to master the art of essentialism. If you haven't yet read the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown, it is amazing. And at first, I was just going to share a few things I loved from the book. But I reached out to the author himself and said, hey, would you mind coming on Learn, Do, Become Radio and sharing your perspective on how we can master the art of essentialism? And he said yes. So today I am bringing you the audio from our interview that we did via Facebook Live, where I asked our community to submit their questions. I said, okay, what do you want to know about mastering the art of essentialism? Our community submitted some amazing questions, and that formed the foundation for this amazing interview. I hope that you love it. We're so thrilled that you're here with us. If you want to get all 9 lessons from our step-by-step home organizing party, go to learndobecome.com/party to sign up. We are having such a great time over there, and we would love to have you be a part of it. Okay, enjoy today's interview. Welcome, Greg McKeown. We're so happy to have you here with us at Learn, Do, Become.
It's so great to be with you.
We are going to have an awesome conversation today because our community has been dying to ask you some questions about essentialism. I went into our Steps to Everyday Productivity community and said, Greg McKeown, author of Essentialism, is coming on to talk with us about how to master this art. And I asked people what they wanted to know. So are you ready for me to just pepper you with questions so you can help us all become essentialists?
Let's do it. We should reduce expectations now, but I'll do my best.
Well, the thing is, I got to tell you, I have read your book about 3 times, listened to the audio about 4 times over the past, 5 years. And I go back to it whenever I start feeling like I'm spread too thin, I have too much on my plate. And you've been a major just example and leader for me and Eric. So thank you, first of all, for all that.
Thank you. That's so kind of you.
For people who are brand new to essentialism, can you just tell us how you define essentialism? Is it like a step above minimalism? How would you define it?
I think the key is in the word, right? It's the mindset of what is essential, what's very important. It's looking for not just the stuff and not just the good things, but the absolutely essential things. To create enough space to figure out what those are, to have the courage to eliminate the things that are not essential, and then to build a system to make execution as easy as possible. This is so that you can operate at your highest point of contribution instead of just feeling stretched in, too thin and going in a million different directions.
Now, what you're saying might sound like it's too good to be true. And I will say, when I first heard you talking about it, part of me thought, yeah, nice dream world, Greg, to be able to just have space to think about what's most important. But I will tell you, I've been applying what you've been teaching for years, and some of it has felt a little bit, I had to make some hard decisions. But I will say, every time I move in that direction of doing what's essential, I feel lighter. And I know 100% that what you're talking about works. How would you describe a master of essentialism? Let's just assume that someone has totally mastered it. Like, for example, David Allen with Getting Things Done. He said, you've mastered GTD if when you're having a conversation with someone, your mind is 100% present. Because then you don't have open loops, you don't have distractions, your brain isn't running in circles, you are fully present. That means that you're a black belt in GTD. So what would you say if someone's a black belt in essentialism? How would you describe them?
Well, I think that a black belt in essentialism means that you're in the wrestle with what's important. It means that your life is full of those things that matter most. So it is in this way quite different than minimalism, and I'm not anti-minimalism by any means, but minimalism, I think, emphasizes the less part. It's about getting rid of these things, and then you have a few things. And I say lots in favor of that. But essentialism, the emphasis is on filling your life with the things that matter. So your life it feels rich. It's not cold clarity like minimalism can be. It's warm clarity. It's where the people that matter most to you get the most attention. They get the most time. You're making memories together. You're living a life that really matters.
I love that. And sometimes you don't even realize that you're there until you look back in retrospect and realize, oh, I went out and played baseball with my boys. We were playing catch in the backyard. And I went on a walk with my dog. And I worked on some really important projects. And I got a nap. And my husband and I were laughing together. And, you look at all these good things happening in your life. And when you're not rushed, jumping from one thing to the next, or you're not sitting in meetings thinking, why am I here in this meeting? This is not worth my time. It is amazing when you start to get there. And it doesn't mean your life is challengeless, right? You still have things you're working through, like any marriage or family.
It's a disciplined pursuit.
Okay.
It's not, that's the subtitle, right? The disciplined pursuit of less but better. It's about an ongoing thing. Essentialism isn't one more thing you're supposed to stuff into your life. Mm-hmm. It's a different way of doing everything. It is, I think, the work of life, so that you don't just get to a certain place and plateau and say, okay, well, I've arrived. Everything is calm. Everything is still. Everything is at peace. I'm not sure such a thing exists anyway, but that's, to me, not what it is. Essentialism, if you have that feeling inside of you, this is the right way that I'm supposed to be going, and I'm going there. Yes. This is the way. Walk in this way. So to me, that's how you know you're there. Your life starts to feel more full of light, less full of, I would say, sort of the darkness of other people's opinions, of other people's agenda for you, of your past, maybe even your past aspirations that are no longer relevant anymore. You're pushing all of that out so that you can be guided in the path of highest contribution.
Okay, beautifully said. And I love that. And what you brought up were some questions that actually our community members had. I want to talk for a moment about fear of loss, fear, like even in our program at Learn, Do, Become, we teach people, just how to declutter their homes and their offices. And a lot of times there's this fear of letting go of things, what if I might need it? Or a fear in letting go of a relationship. Well, what if I hurt that person? Or what if I don't have time for that person? Or, what if I'm going to upset someone? So for all the people pleasers out there, or the recovering people pleasers, who feel this fear of some kind of loss, if they essentialize, what do you recommend, or how have you seen people overcome that fear?
Again, I think the emphasis is to come back to this word. It's you emphasize what is essential. The gentlest way to become an essentialist is to invest more and more of your time and energy to the things and the people, the causes and the relationships that are highly important, and to allow the other things, in a sense, to be starved of that attention and effort. That will happen naturally. It can start to fall out of your life. And now, of course, not everything just naturally falls out. There can be, negotiations that need to take place, discussions, counsel that needs to happen. But I still think that the first key is figure out what really matters and start giving a bit more to it, and to allow the other things to be slowly starved out and pushed out of your life.
And then just don't be afraid.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think at the heart of the matter is the reality of trade-offs.
Yeah.
So when you think about giving up that item in the closet, when you take that item and in the moment of almost giving it up, you pick it up, you take it off the shelf, you look at it, and you think, I really need to get rid of this. But in that moment, something mysterious and almost magical seems to happen. And you say, I could use it sometime in the future, maybe, possibly. And so whatever inevitably happens is it goes back on the shelf. And there's a term for this, it's the endowment effect. And the endowment effect says that we value things more because we own them. Mm-hmm. And so that's a good thing, but it can cause a really bad thing, which is that we hold on to something that really ought not to be there anymore. It's not actually of great value to us. We just remember its value as we think of getting rid of it. So making that connection now back to what you're talking about, fear in maybe in our relationships, or fear of getting rid of an opportunity or something that we've committed to in the past. our fear is greatest in the moment of releasing it, because we're most aware of owning it in that moment. So I think that one of the things that one can ask is, well, would I invest in this starting today? If this was a new decision, would I now enter this? Would I now enter this relationship? Would I now enter this commitment? Would I go into it starting afresh, so that you can evaluate its real value? And also just to discover that there's always a trade-off being made. Yeah, that's really the heart of what I was trying to say just then is every time you say yes to something that you ought to be saying no to, you are using up time and energy for some other better, more important yes. And so just to be aware of that. So when you have the fear of giving something up, realize that keeping it is also coming at a cost.
Yes.
Discover the reality of trade-offs and then make the best trade-off. Which problem do you want?
And I think sometimes it is helpful to hear from other people who've already made those decisions to essentialize. I went into our group and said, hey, when have you made a choice to cut something out of your life you didn't want to cut out of your life, and you did it anyway because you knew it was the right decision? And we had stories coming in of someone who was an author and had published multiple books and then decided, I don't want to write anymore, and had to completely change and go in a different direction.
Wow.
Someone else who was helping children with special needs who were riding horses, and she was the leader, and when she quit, no one else was there to take it on, and she felt all this guilt. But in every situation, with all the stories people were sharing, at the end they said, looking back, I'm so glad I made that decision. It opened up my life for these other things,
for something new, for something better, for something possible, for something meaningful. If there's no room in your closet, you can't bring in some new item of clothing that you would feel even happier about, that you love. There's no space for it.
Right.
And even more importantly, beyond that metaphor, in our own lives, there are more meaningful things ahead. So when you say no to something that doesn't feel right anymore, you're creating space for something that is a higher contribution. And that's your justification. It's the big yes that allows you to have the courage to say no to something that is currently on your plate but ought not to be.
Now, I hope everyone who is listening just realized what wisdom you just shared, because just those last sentences, if each one of us were to apply those consistently in our lives, we're going to see magic start to happen. You're going to start walking into your purpose. You're going to start seeing your life open. And it's pretty exciting when you think about it, because when you, like, for example, there was something I was holding on to much longer than I should have held on to it. And I didn't want to let go because I think it was my ego. I think there was some part of me like, no, I'm...
Well, what was it then? What was it that you held on to? You don't want to say now, do you?
I don't want to say it, actually. I'm pretty embarrassed about it. But I had...
Is it really so shocking? Is it really so embarrassing?
Yeah, it actually is. It's like it's super personal. Something I actually can't share publicly. But I will say it kept me up at night for years. Like, this was something that I was up at night. I was worried about. I was thinking about, and I was trying so hard to hold on to it. And I finally let go. And as soon as I let go, the other things I knew were my purpose just started ballooning. Like, everything just started growing in the right direction. I started waking up excited again. I started thinking, I've got free time, and my stress rashes went away. I started feeling like, okay, I can manage this. And I mean, at the end of the day, you can always change directions again and go back and figure something out. There's very few things where it's like, if I say no, I can never make another adjustment.
But what you said is that you discovered freedom.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I heard in what you just said. It was like real new life was born.
Yeah.
And so there you were thinking, if I say no to this, something is going to die. A little piece of me will die, and that's what the fear is. Actually, on the other side of that decision was exactly opposite of what you expected there to be. Isn't it? There was freedom to think again. Freedom. You got your life back. You got your mind back. You got all of this rebate to be able to start creating, and all opportunities came to you. That's exactly what I've found happens. It's not the fear of, we've got to move from the fear of missing out right to the joy of missing out.
Yes.
from FOMO to JOMO, right?
I love it.
It's a real phenomenon. You say no to something that isn't the right path for you. You become, let's say it this way, you become less of who you really aren't so that you can become more of who you really are.
That's beautiful. And really, like, now I'm reading more books. I'm breathing better. I'm sleeping more. I'm happier in my relationship. Like, everything has gotten better. I started making our house fun. Like, I wasn't good at making our house a fun place. And my kids always said, I don't want to invite anyone over because there's nothing to do here. Like, that was our house. And now, like, we have a little indoor basketball hoop being delivered in the next couple of days. I'm so excited. Like, all of a sudden I am thinking in a way that's, hey, how can I actually achieve these things I've wanted? That now they're all starting to happen. But I was holding on to all these things in the past, and there are multiple things. Some of it's, just mental beliefs that I was holding on to. Some of it was commitments of time. But I do have a question. This is specifically from one of our community members, and I know this is a common question. What if you are skilled at a lot of things? What do you do at that point?
Yeah, right. I mean, this is the curse of capability.
Yes.
It sounds like a nice problem to have, but it does in fact turn out to be a problem because we still have the time that we have. And so our most precious resource, our most narrowing stream of life is the time that we have. And so it's a good problem to have, but we have to realize again, we're looking not for doing good things. We're not looking for just doing everything we could do. Everything that we're good at, it far out surpasses the amount of time available. We're not talking about like twice as much. We've got like 10 times. Sometimes some people it's 100 times more capability and talent than time. Yeah. So therefore, therefore you've got to get really selective.
Yeah.
Because you've got to work out what can I be the best in the world at?
Yes.
What is absolutely my essential, unique mission in life? Because I think that's really our only obligation. You can simplify a whole of life's obligations down to that single criterion. Is this my essential mission in life? If it's not, you are under no obligation to pursue it. No matter what anybody else is doing, and no matter what anybody else tells you, that is your obligation in life. That's how I feel about it anyway. Mm-hmm. So my job in life is to try and discern between all those other good things and all those other maybe different capabilities and so on that you feel obliged to go down and find instead just the essential path, just those things that I came here to do. To me, that's like the super criteria.
Well, and I love you and Eric and I had a brief conversation before we came on to record. And I love how you were talking about sometimes you do start looking in a direction like, oh, this might be a good direction. And you might take a step or two, but you pay close attention to how you feel as you're moving in that direction to see if that's right or not. Can you explain a little bit more about how someone might be able to take a step or how to discern which way to go? Because sometimes you don't know. If you're literally standing at the crossroads, sometimes you have to move in order to know it's wrong.
Yeah, right. Absolutely right. So let's just back up. So in Essentialism, there are 3 steps to becoming an essentialist: is explore what's essential, eliminate what's not, create a system to make it easy. Okay. Now you can think about those over different periods. You could say, okay, let me explore for 6 months and then let me eliminate my life for 6 months, get rid of all this clutter and then build a system. Or you could think, which is more how I would encourage people to think about it, as a very rapid process where you are perpetually exploring and eliminating and therefore building. So what I see it as is every day is its own prototype for exploring. Mm-hmm. Today is a prototype. We're going to try and work out this morning, take some time, meditate, pray, ponder, read, make a plan. My goal is I always try to write 6 things in priority order. And I did that this morning, and I noticed the difference when I don't. And then you try and take steps towards those things. And as you take steps, you learn fast. That's why you need to do it every day. And so as you're learning, you will learn whether this thing feels like the right direction or whether it actually feels like it's pulling you off. And I will stop multiple times through a day, and have done today, and said, is this really the right path? Let's just pause. Let's be sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me reassign my time so that you can have, that feeling of being in the right path, doing the right things for the right reasons at the right time. That's this test of being an essentialist, as we mentioned before.
I love that. I even did that today as I was sitting down. I was working on some projects. So I have all my projects, organized. I'm moving in priority. But before I even went to look at them, I just sat down and said, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? I was, because I planned up to 2020 really well. But then everything like I'd been dreaming about kind of happened in 2020. So then I thought, okay, this is exciting. I know. Now it's like, well, now what? Because I dreamed as big as I could dream. And maybe I should have been dreaming bigger, but what I was dreaming for is I'm really happy with. And then I thought, okay, well, now it's not as much about survival mode or, I got to make these hard decisions. It's more like, okay, now I'm living in my purpose. So now what do I do with that? Right. And being able to just sit down and really put myself out in the future and think, well, what do I want in 5 years? Then when I'm looking at my projects and my day-to-day activities, it's really clear to see which ones matter and which ones don't, right?
Yes, I think that's right. I think that if you build an essential intent, which is, a single, it doesn't have to be one, it could be a few, but it's not many, long-term goals. Let's just say it's one real game changer, one thing that you think if this really happened 5 years from now, it would be a completely different level of contribution than I've been in the past. When you get clear about that, it changes everything, because suddenly using that becomes your super criteria. It's not a generalized idea now, it's a very specific one. And you use that, and you can often find that 80% of the stuff that you were doing before, 80% of your to-do list is no longer relevant, because it won't get you there. And that doesn't mean you just get rid of all 80%, day two, but you start to move from your old list to a new list. You start to realize these things will never get me there. Yeah. So now I need to inculcate new habits, new systems that will take me gently, consistently up to this next level, this higher level of contribution.
I love it. I want to talk a little bit about escape. That was one of my favorite chapters, as you're talking about the perks of being unavailable and how it doesn't happen by default, but by design.
Right.
And so, okay, I just have to say, so my mom passed away a few years ago, and she was my hero. And we asked her one time, what was a good friend to her? What was a really good friend? And she said, the characteristic that matters the most to me is a friend who's available. Where if you drop by their house, they want you to come in, or you call them and they have time for you, right? And that has been kind of ingrained in me, that you want to be available. But I 100% understand the need to sometimes be unavailable and set those boundaries. So how would you describe the balance that you've either achieved or that you're pursuing or that you've seen happen?
Yeah, well, look, principles have to be applied differently in different eras. So as we've moved, even over the last 10 years or so, from being connected digitally to being hyper-connected, the same principle has to be adapted, because it's a sea change that's taken place and still taking place. So, the principle that your mother shared, let's say that worked 10 years ago. At some level, you have a certain set of boundaries, and you've got a certain amount of options and inputs and opinions from people. Okay, so this is success. But then the hyperconnectivity happens. You've got just total opinion overload now happening. Everybody's competing in a completely different way, and you've got the old response. So now you've got to up your game. Otherwise, this is going to be real failure. And the way you'll know that you're failing is that you will feel stretched too thin. You will feel frantic, frenetic pace. You will feel that it's harder to sense your own journey, to feel that you are on the right path. And so I would say that you need to adapt to get back to that place. You have to say, okay, well, how do I change boundaries to make sure, yes, actually, that I am available for the most important people, the most important commitments. I'm not against that sentiment, But you can't simply say, I will be available to everyone and everything. I mean, you could do that.
It won't work.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you could do that. Sometimes I sort of play, in a sense, devil's advocate on this. I say, look, if non-essentialism is working for you, then do it, right? If you just think, I'll do everything for everyone all the time, I will pursue every idea I come across over online. I will do it all. If that's working for you, keep doing it.
Yeah.
Double down on it. Don't sleep at all. Don't stop till you get to the end of the internet. I mean, yeah. Of course, that's such a nonsense. We know that can't work, and that's the whole problem with non-essentialism. Is it's based in a lie that you can do everything for everyone all the time, do everything everyone else is doing. I mean, this is just a form of madness. So actually, non-essentialism, just cannot work because it's based in these false views of the world. Essentialism is actually just a more truthful way of looking at things. Few things matter, and anytime we take energy away from those things onto less important things, our overall contribution will go down. So our job is to do, fewer things done better. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, I think you really helped me with this in your chapter on Dare. I think it's called Dare, about the power of a graceful no. And you have like 4 pages on the no repertoire, right? Like teaching people like how to say no.
Yes. Actually, I keep thinking about something. Somewhere down here, I've got a note.
Okay.
My papers.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
I wish I'd had this at the time that I wrote Essentialism. I didn't. What it is this has been laminated now by someone when I was speaking, teaching these ideas, and I pulled this out, but it was just a piece of paper, and they said, "Oh, I want you to laminate it for you," so they did. This is a note from my daughter. She slipped it under my office door one day after I'd been trying to persuade her to read a certain book. I don't remember the book. And it was a good book, and she loves to read it. And so she wasn't like sort of up in arms about it, but she just wasn't that keen to do it, you could tell. And so I came to a meeting, and this is what the note says. She says, "I already expressed my unwillingness to read this book, but I'm willing to make a counteroffer. I am not willing to read it all in one day today, but I'd be happy to explore the possibility of reading it in the future over the course of a few weeks. I believe it would be best to wait till the end of my literature assignment. If you would like me to read this book in place of a separate assignment and over the course of a few weeks, I'm sure that can be made possible."
Okay. How old was your daughter?
She was 14 when she wrote that.
Okay, that's brilliant. Were you just feeling like this is exactly what you taught her to do?
But I rather suspect it's what my mother, what her mother taught her to do. But I have had her come with me now, travel with me many times. When I travel, about 80% of the time, I'll bring one of my children with me, and so they come in there. They've had, I'm sure, more exposure to essentialism than they even care to have. But they often have coming to these events, and they'll answer questions, and they're part of the conversations. And I do think that in that little story is a few things we can glean. And one of them is that you don't want to try and be an essentialist on your own. That's one thing. You want to inculcate it in the people around you. You want them to be able to negotiate essentials. You want to be able to have that conversation. You don't want I don't want my daughters to feel that their life is either a polite yes or a rude no.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people do feel trapped in that either or scenario. I want them to know that there's a third alternative. You can negotiate, you can have a conversation. It's perfectly reasonable when the trade-offs are always real. It is perfectly reasonable. You have a right to talk about that reality and to not pretend that there isn't such a reality. I think sometimes we violate the principle of honesty in this norm of non-essentialism. So we go to meetings, and people say, okay, are you going to all do all these things? And let's talk about all these things. This is all put out there. And everyone's like, oh, yes. People don't even write the list down. It's like this dishonest, it's a very odd violation going on that we're sort of all in it together. Yeah, well, we're not really going to do any of that. We're just going to say we're going to do it because I want people to be able to have the conversation. So where I emphasize in the book just saying no, and I do, a variety of ways of doing it, I think the repertoire is richer for me now. I understand that it's about negotiating the no, or negotiating what you can say yes to. And I think this is brilliantly illustrated here by Eve.
I love that so much. And the thing is, I think part of it is learning how to say it. And clearly your daughter has developed the skill to understand how to communicate it to you. But I think there's another step that happened before that, in that she knew that she had a right to set limits and have an opinion. And that's where I think a lot of us struggle. You quoted Henry Cloud, Dr. Henry Cloud, in your book, and I've been part of his course. He has a boundaries.me course, and he teaches people basically how to understand that you have the right to set limits. And I know you have a whole chapter on limit setting, and how it's not just okay, but it's necessary to develop a healthy, to have mental health, to have physical health, to know that you have a right to that limit. And it's so funny because my husband has always encouraged me to use my voice, express my opinions. And I've always felt like, it's so exhausting to express my opinion. I'd rather just say yes and let everyone have what they want than to express my opinion, because it does take energy. But I found that the more that I recognize I'm causing myself all these problems, when I let people walk all over me, when I just say, sure, I can do that and that and that and that, and I don't need sleep, and sure, come on in the bathroom, kids, while I'm in here, we'll just have a big party. When I do that, I'm actually saying, sorry, that was probably too much information, but
no, that's it. We all relate. We understand.
I just find that when I've started to say, you know what, I'm really bothered that people are coming in my room all the time, or I don't have space to think. And where I would have, major breakdowns where I'd yell at everybody or whatever, I find that when I set these limits and boundaries, I'm not having those. For example, our children are so sweet and they love to snuggle with me in the mornings. And they started coming in as soon as they woke up. So I would just have all these children just coming in the room. But I was getting up, an hour earlier to just have time for myself. Like you were saying, review my goals, have my prayer, have my scripture study, things like that. So I set a rule that they could come into my room at 7:40. Like that is the time. And if it's 7:38, I love you so much, but you need to wait outside the door until 7:40. And now at 7:40, they come in, they bring the dog, they all jump on the bed, we play, and we want me to hug and kiss them. And it's just this great time, but it starts at 7:40. And then I know I have quiet before that. And just something like that has been the biggest change for me, because I always thought, no, a good mom would welcome the children who want to give them hugs and kisses, and at any time of day. And now that I'm learning how to set limits and then express myself succinctly, so it's not exhausting, but articulately to get the point across, my life is changing, because now I have time to plan the day, to prepare, to feel mentally ready. And I don't feel like I'm just jumping into the day and running like a crazy woman all day. So I'm sure
you just articulated the value proposition of essentialism so well, because what you say is that before you thought, a good mother just does everything. But really, then you went on to explain that when you try to do that, you don't do everything. Mm-hmm. What actually happens is now you want to yell at people eventually, because
I did.
Because that's the lie of non-essentialism. The non-essentialism says, well, just do it for everyone and it will all work out. This will be great. Everyone will get. They don't. Mm-hmm. It's such a con. Actually, although I find it sort of humorous, it also makes me furious. What a con that we can do everything for everyone, and so therefore we shouldn't have limits. What is true is that if you just are available 24/7 to anybody, you will eventually have really rough relationships with lots of people. Right. You will not do really well with many of those relationships. Mm-hmm. It's not going to end well. Yeah. I actually met one person one time who had an experiment, and their experiment was New Year's resolution: I'm going to say yes to everyone and everything. Literally. And I talked to them in probably, February, March, as an event I was doing. We had a lunch, and she was telling me this story, and I thought it was fantastic just to even hear this idea. And I was like, well, how did that work out for you? And she's like, terrible. She said, I was exhausted. I was stressed out. I wasn't able to deliver on projects. I wasn't, it was like she literally took non-essentialism and just ran with it. And just said, what will happen? You burn out. You wear out. It doesn't work. Essentialism is actually the only sane long-term strategy for contribution.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I found that when I was waiting, for example, for time to open up in my day for Eric and I to have really awesome conversations, it was never happening. And there was one period of time, it was a few weeks ago, and we went like 3 days hardly talking because the kids and work and all these things are just happening. And we were so frustrated with each other without even telling each other because it was just constant. And so I actually decided, and I was so tired. So on my daily reminders now, at the top, it says, I am rested and calm, and I am connected to my best friend, Eric. Like that's at the top of my list because I've noticed when I take time to sleep and I'm calm and he's my priority, everything else goes so much better. But I was causing my own problem by thinking, well, let me just, stretch myself in all these directions. So like I say no to most things right now. But it's amazing when you say yes, like what you're saying, to your spouse, to your family, to your most important work, how then everything else works out. And so anything on that, I have one more question for you, but any other thoughts before you move on?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that you've talked with your community about this before, but the word priority came into the English language in the 1400s, and it's singular, right? It's the priority. There can only be one very first thing. And so really thinking carefully about that so that we don't just get lost in the middle of all these good, but not highest priority focus. When you get the priority right, when you get clear about that, everything else fits into its perspective or falls out of your life altogether. And you've just illustrated how that's been true for you.
Now, there was a question that came in. This was from Emily, and she said, when she gets home from work, she's exhausted. And I think right now she's a nurse, so a lot going on, right? And she said, I don't know where to start. And so I end up not doing anything. And then the pressure keeps building. So what is your advice to someone who might have some energy, right, at the end of the day or the beginning of the day or wherever, and they have a lot they want to do, but just feel like they can't get started? What's your suggestion for that?
Well, honestly, I mean, I would love to have a conversation with the person that you're describing to understand better what that situation is. I mean, I would maybe like to do that.
I can arrange that.
Yeah, I think that might be worth doing. I mean, it seems to me that, again, with very limited information, it seems to me that the priority for her is to protect her ability to prioritize.
I love that.
And so when it says, oh, I get home after all this and I just don't even know where to start, what I think may be going on is I'm actually already burned out. Like the reason I don't know where to start isn't just that there's 100 things, of course, I know there are, but it's that I'm already, I mean, just being a nurse on the front lines right now. I mean, when I went to the store yesterday, which is a rare thing now, is for most of us, and it was exhausting. It's exhausting. Everything's so odd. It's not how it used to be. The way everyone interacts with each other is so awkward. In my home, it doesn't feel like any of that, but out there, and so I can only imagine how exhausting that constant sort of additional anxiety from everyone around you and navigating all that change constantly. Of course, when she gets home, she doesn't know what to do. And my suggestion isn't, oh, well, efficiently try and do 10 things. Yeah. It's like, what do you have to do to protect yourself? How can you take, go take a bath? How can you go read? How can you relax? How can you, not because, oh, that's selfish. Essentialism is not being selfish. It's protecting yourself so that you can continue to make a contribution. It's protecting your ability to discern so that you can then make better decisions tomorrow and the next day and over the long run. So I think protecting the asset
love that.
Is the priority for her.
I use that phrase all the time, protect the asset. And you're right. At first I thought it felt selfish. Like, who am I to call myself the asset? I just thought that it was thinking maybe too highly of myself. Or yeah, I did, to be honest. But now the more that I started applying it, the more I realized, oh man, this is actually the most important thing. And my family knows, like, hey, if mom's tired and she needs sleep, highest priority. And I love to drink a big green smoothie, and I
drink it while I'm taking a bath pretty much every morning. And the whole family's like, are you taking your smoothie bath now? They all know, like, that's mom's time. Yeah. Don't come in. Just give me time to just relax.
If mom's not happy, nobody's happy.
It's kind of true, but it's like that for all of us. Like, I want my children to learn that too. And I'm trying to teach my children how to protect themselves as the asset. Because I think sometimes as children, we might kind of put them into a lesser role. Like, oh, you're the children, you just do whatever I say. You know, I think that sometimes when they're little, you kind of think of them like you're managing children. And now that we have teenagers, I'm thinking more about how to help them avoid the burnout, you know, when they're involved in all that.
Well, and let's just build on that for a second, because this idea of protecting the asset, especially this navigational spiritual asset, the executive function of our brain that helps to try and discern which things matter versus which things don't, particularly doing those things to protect that. Like, isn't that the fundamental transfer between parent and children, or in this case, parent and teens? Like, that is the work of parenting. Once Anna and I's children, right, our children, can discern and follow that, their conscience guiding them, that's the effective work of parenting is done. That's it.
Yes, don't worry about
the work. The work isn't to get them to do what I want. That's very tempting. And of course, sometimes that's on the journey there. You are going to say, hey, you know, we're leading and we're trying to ask you to do these things and these responsible. Of course. But it's all in service of a time when they are completely independent, and not just independent in the sense that they can make any decision, but that they can actually find find their essential mission in life, that they can course correct back to the priority, path that they are supposed to live. That to me is the work of parenting.
Love it. Yes. And how have you and Anna found it works best to do that? Is it in conversation? Is it just helping them, you know, as they start a new sport and then maybe they like it or don't, or if they want to play video games? I know you did like a reading thing where you started rewarding your kids for reading. And yeah,
that's true.
But what's helped you?
I mean, certainly talking about it really often. Like just even introducing the ideas. I don't think there's anything in essentialism that can't be understood by actually a young child. Yeah. I remember Jack, my son, when he was quite young, certainly younger than 10, saying about a decision we were discussing, he said, "Oh yeah, I just don't want to make that trade-off." And he used that language and he perfectly understood it. And I think sometimes we underestimate our children's ability to learn things, and we think, oh, well, they can only learn this once they're 30s. And that's such a risk, because then what happens is somebody gets into their 30s and then they discover, I have no idea, you know, I've been on a race to nowhere. You know, I still don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And I think you can start that young. And so we talk about this all the time with our children. I remember my eldest daughter, this was several years ago, also sent a note, but it was under our bedroom door. She stayed up a little later and been brainstorming about this idea of what's your unique contribution? What is the thing that you want to do in the world? You know, what would matter 100 years from now when you're forgotten? And we talk about all these things. These are just ongoing discussions. And she'd had this awakening that since she was very young, like 3-4 years old, she'd always loved movies and getting everyone dressed up and doing this. And she realized, I want to be a director. And that has been like a golden thread through her life. And it's still absolutely what she wants to do today. And so here she is now 17. She's graduated high school earlier, so she's at college, and this is what she's pursuing. And she's really talented at it. And I would never have known that for her. If I'd set goals for her, they could have been completely misaligned based on my own assumptions about what it is that, you know, that what her strengths were and so on. It had to come from inside of her. And our aspiration is for that for each of our children. They're each unique. They're very different, personality difference, interest difference. And so to us, that's what we are. That's the intent. It's not to get our children to do what we want. It's to get them to discover what they are supposed to do with their life. So lots of conversations, you know, maybe
Lots
almost
of
as
trial
much
and
as
error.
daily. Really.
No, I agree. I have a son who's loved cars, like little cars, Hot Wheels since he was little. And now he's designed cars and they're categorized on his walls of his bedroom. He's got all different types. He colors them, designs them, names them. He wants to own a car dealership. Like he's got this whole thing planned. And, that's
How
just
old
like
and how old is he?
12.
Yeah.
He's very excited.
Yeah, but I just think that's such a delightful example, and it's illustrative of it, right? Like I don't have those on my wall. You don't have those on your wall. Out of 99 people, 100 people, 99 don't have that. But sometimes the individual doesn't recognize that as unique because fish discover water last, and so you just think that's how it is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Anna had to point out to me, and not even that long ago in our lives, that, well, Greg, your brain's like a factory producing ideas and concepts and principles, and what a blessing, a gift that is. And I was like, nope, never thought about that as a gift or as a special. That's just how my life is. That's how it is. And so sometimes we are strangers to ourselves in terms of our strengths and capabilities. And so our job, I think, is to just keep asking people, keep pointing things out, keep leading to people, helping people to do that, children to do that self-discovery so that they can feel safe in taking a path, not just less traveled by, but traveled by no one but them.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to kind of get some last encouragement or kind of final words that you want to share on this podcast. I do want to announce to everyone there is an Essentialism podcast coming soon, so we will link to it and share it, and I'm going to be subscribing. I want to be your first subscriber. I can't wait.
Oh, good.
So super excited about that because I know you have a lot of good wisdom to share. You're a learner, and Eric and I were talking to Greg earlier. We actually knew him, 25 years ago back in college.
Amazing.
So fun. Well, we were all just kind of starting out, figuring it out. So it's really fun. Our paths have crossed again. But what are maybe just some final thoughts that you would want to leave with our community? I've been checking out the comments coming through on the Facebook Live, and everyone's like, this is so good. So much good information. I need to go back and listen to the whole thing. So we're very excited.
So nice. Tell me, what else are they saying? Tell me so I can respond to that.
Well, and I'll send you the link afterwards. But Brenda was saying, I wish I had known all this 30 years ago. She said, I'm the crazy person trying to do everything for everyone. We're getting a lot of so true. Thank you. This is amazing. And you can go through. There's like 23 comments right now. So.
Yeah. Look, I think if I could summarize something, and I didn't write this in Essentialism, but I think if I had to summarize now, I would say that Essentialism is about light. And I feel this. I mean, to live Essentialism is to follow whatever even if it's the tiniest little bit of light you have, is to follow that and to not be distracted even by other people's light, right? Like even by other people's good things and worthy things and things that you go, not only is there's nothing wrong with that, that's wonderful. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it has to be my wonderful.
Right.
In fact, it often won't be. And it can be quite a lonely path. In fact, it is almost certainly going to be lonelier because you're trying to take a path designed just for you. It's a narrow path. It's your path. It's unique to you. It's special to you. It's amazing too. And so I would just encourage people to, even if they only have just enough light to take one step towards something that they feel really clear that they ought to do. Even if it's one little step, do that step. Trust that another step will come up and that light will get brighter and brighter. And I certainly desire that in my own life. And I'm want to be willing to let go anything else to maintain that.
I love that. And I think that when you surround yourself with other essentialists, then even though your unique path might be a little bit lonely, your experience overall is not, because now you have people alongside you who are following their paths with that strength. So.
Yeah, I concur with what you're saying. If you can build a community in the way that you've been describing, that you've been doing, you do realize that I have an experience as a group I get together with every year or so, and that it's a really amazing group of people actually, and they are very unique. And when I'm with them, I feel more like myself than under other circumstances. Or rather that I can be myself, be a little less apologetic about how I think about the world, or how I see that life, because I can see that they're doing the same things in their life, that they're thinking boldly, that they're believing in quite impossible things, or it sounds impossible to others. And so I do think the right group of people can be inspiring in the way you say, and I think that is a good counter to the loneliness that you can feel.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Greg. This has been amazing. And everyone listening, follow Greg, gregmckeown.com. Is that right?
Yes, gregmckeown.com.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thanks, April.
We hope that you enjoyed the interview with Greg. I know I have gone back already and listened to it twice. And I got emails from 2 of my siblings saying, oh my goodness, this was amazing. I have so much to think about now. So I hope that you are enjoying it as well. If you are not yet a member of our Steps to Everyday Productivity program, now honestly is the best time to join. You can find our best offer and a link to our webinar and everything at learndobecome.com/best offer. And of course, we'll have all links on our show notes page. And you can find that at learndobecome.com/episode 90. That's the number 9 and 0. Okay. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much for being with us. Keep up the wonderful work, and we will see you soon at learndobecome.com.